Hi everybody and welcome to my kitchen. Today's Fannie Farmer's recipe. It is something very old school and I hope you stay tuned because we're going to put a little bit of a modern twist on it. Hi everybody and welcome to my home. This is Homestead Tessie's Mobile Home Living. Hi everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. Today is a simple recipe. It comes from the Fannie Farmer cookbook. Who was Fannie Farmer? And why did she make a cookbook? Original Fannie Farmer made a cookbook, I think back in the 1800s. When I edit this video, I'll do some research. But it comes to you from this cookbook I got this week. The Fannie Farmer's Junior Cookbook. And we are gonna make beef stew. Now, beef stew is something very simple to make. You just add beef, add some stewed vegetables, and voila, there you go. But if you're like me, you don't like to stay in the kitchen and stir pots and look at pans all day long, we're gonna use the crock pot, and that's the modern twist to it. I'm gonna show you all of my garden vegetables we're gonna put in beef cubes. I got these for $2 because they were a day old, but it's fine to use it for a stew like this. So let's just assemble everything together. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna put all these carrots and all these potatoes. These are my small little potatoes from the garden. These carrots are from the garden. We're just gonna throw them in the bottom of the crock pot. In with it, I have a little bit of parsley and I have a little bit of basil that was left over for a previous meal that I was making. I had some leftover herbs. Then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use these tomatoes. These are fresh from the garden. Now it calls for Italian canned tomatoes, which we're using fresh, and we're just gonna add my own Mrs. Dash seasoning. Yep, I have a video on that. The ingredients call for 2 pounds of beef chuck, 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil, and 1/4 cup of flour. And they tell you that you're gonna go ahead and you're going to sear that on all 4 sides. That's if you're gonna bake it, but we're putting in the crock pot just as is. And it calls for some tomatoes, some carrots, some potatoes, basically all the things you need for a beef stew. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna throw the meat in here. Now I coated our cubes with some garlic. I didn't have any fresh garlic that's ready yet, so we're gonna use some dried garlic. And we're just gonna put this in the crock pot. Now we're going to add our tomatoes. And that's basically all we need to do. I'm going to add a little bit of brown sugar to mine because that's how we are used to doing it. We're going to put it in the crock pot, and it's going to take probably 5 hours at least to get this all cooked down real good. And I'll show you what it looks like. It's a simple and easy meal to make with a modern twist to a very old flavor. In a previous video, I talked about why would we add sugar to vegetable soup. Well, I realized the sugar cuts the acidity down in the tomatoes. And that's why a lot of recipes call for a little bit of sugar when you have tomatoes. There you go, everyone. And I'll show you what it looks like when we're finished. Old-fashioned beef stew from Fannie Farmer's cookbook. Old-fashioned with a modern twist by using the crock pot. It smells absolutely amazing. It reminds me of Sunday suppers at Mama's house. Who was Fannie Farmer? She was known for her famous cookbook in which accurate measurements were first introduced. The publication of Fannie Farmer in 1896 cookbook, the Boston Cooking School Cookbook, was an event in cooking history and in making domestic life a bit easier for family cooks, most of whom were women. She included very specific and accurate measurements. Before that, the cookbook ingredients list were estimates. Your results will vary was the phrase yet to become popular, but it sure described the older style recipes. Fannie Farmer's parents were active Unitarians and lived just outside of Boston. During her high school years in Massachusetts, Fannie Farmer, who was never married, suffered a stroke with paralysis. Or perhaps she was stricken with polio. She had to discontinue her education. After recovering some of her movement and being confined to bed for months, she worked as a mother's helper, where she learned her interest in the aptitude for cooking. With her parents' support and encouragement of her employers, the Shaw, Fannie Farmer studied cooking under Mary Lincoln at the Boston School. Fannie Farmer graduated from Lincoln School in 1889 and remained an assistant director and became a director in 1894, and her personality helped draw students to the school. Farmer revised and reissued the Boston Cooking School cookbook in 1896. With her improvements, she standardized measurements and thereby made the results more dependable. The standardization and measurements in the household cooking was a great advancement to home cooking and made food preparation easier for those who have not devoted time to attend cooking school. In 1902, Fannie Farmer left the Boston Cooking School to open Miss Fannie's School of Cookery, aimed not at professional cooks but at training housewives. She was a frequent lecturer in domestic topics and wrote several more cooking-related books before she died in Boston in 1915. The school continued into 1944.